Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All of today's guests, including Gary Bettman, standing by, are brought to you by the Vancouver Giants. Giants' next home game is Saturday, December 14th, couple of Saturdays from now, at 7. Teddy Bear Toss Night as they take on Victoria. Head to VancouverGiants.com to get single-game tickets, flex packs, and more. We're joined now by NHL Commissioner, member of the Hockey Hall of Fame. He's been Commissioner since 1993, Gary Bettman. Gary, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
I'm good. You guys must have been in elementary school when I started.
No, actually, you know what? I interviewed you. We from Vancouver. We went to do a piece on Brian Burke, who was helping you out back in those days, and it was your first year on the job. So I don't know about Rick, but I was around, and I met you way back then. Hey, 31 years on the job, Gary. What goes through your mind when you think of that?
I try not to. It goes in the blink of an eye. It really does. I've enjoyed every minute of it. Some parts have been more fun than others, but at the end of the day, it's just been great to be a part of this game, and I continue to be a part of this game. So I'm not going anywhere yet.
What are you most proud of, Gary?
You know what? I don't do that as a general matter. I leave that for other people to say. But at the end of the day, to be part of something where, from ownership to the players, to everybody who works off ice. This is just the greatest group of people associated with a sport, not to mention that I think we have the best fans. And the game has been growing. And I think most people say, particularly coming off of last season, that the game's never been faster, more competitive, more skillful, more entertaining. But that's not all me. That's part of the entire system that I was describing, of people who are involved with and love this game.
Big day yesterday with the announcement of the Four Nations rosters. What is that tournament going to do for your league?
Well, we have a history, particularly our players, of international competition. Our players love to represent their countries. A third of our players come from outside of North America. So international best on best is a big deal. Although what's interesting is, and people tend to forget it, until we arranged for the players to participate in the Olympics in '98 in Nagano, NHL players, once the players got to the NHL, didn't play in the Olympics. And then we went. There's some disruption involved in our season, obviously, but what became clear to me over time is that playing, representing your country, is something very important to the players, and that's why we decided to go back to the Olympics with Marty Walsh as the executive director of the Players Association. We're working very well, and we're bringing back the World Cup. And based on the timetable of getting everything done, if we had had more time, we'd probably be doing a World Cup in February as opposed to Four Nations. But Four Nations was a good way to kick things off and to bring back international best on best, sort of an appetizer to Olympics, then World Cup 2 years later, then Olympics 2 years after that, then World Cup, and so on. So this is just really putting a flag in the ground saying we're back and we really mean it for international best on best.
Gary, you just mentioned Marty Walsh, the new boss of the NHLPA. Talk a little bit about how that relationship's been going so far and possible CBA talks starting soon.
That's a great question. Marty's been on the job now, I think, a little over a year, give or take. He great experience. He was president of the Building Trades Union in Boston. He was the mayor of Boston. He was the Secretary of Labor for the United States. He's smart. He knows what he's doing. He's a very good guy. He understands the importance of working together to grow a business for everybody's benefit. Our relationship has been terrific, and we decided to begin collective bargaining negotiations. Our current agreement is this season and one more. We're going to start in February, and our hope is to do this quickly, quietly, and seamlessly.
Gary, expansion. It's a hot topic button at all times when it comes to the National Hockey League. Some reports already of certain teams you might be going after. Where are you with expansion?
We're not going after anybody, and we're not in a mode where the governors are saying, let's expand, let's start a process, let's invite people. We've gotten expressions of interest over the last few years from, I don't know, 8 or 9 different cities. And the fact of the matter is, there are 4 things that really get focused on if you're going to do expansion. One is ownership. 2 is the market. Will it sustain a professional hockey team at the NHL level? 3 is arena. And 4, will it make the league stronger? If somebody on one of the interested parties puts it all together and comes in and says, here's how we're checking all those boxes, we'd want you to consider us, we'd probably do that. Doesn't mean we'd expand, but at least we'd consider it. But we're not encouraging it. We're not pushing it. If it happens, it'll rise up organically. And so I'm not ruling out expansion, but it's not anything that we're focused on right now.
Gary, I want to ask you about the health of the Canadian markets. I know you talked about Winnipeg a while back, but I want to ask you first about Vancouver. There was a lot of losing here, and then last year, almost got to the Western Conference final. The city was on fire. It was really, really a great time. Talk about Vancouver first, and then the rest of the Canadian markets and the health of the Canadian markets.
Vancouver's got great fans, and they let the club know when they're unhappy if they're not playing well enough, and they support the club incredibly. They always support the club, but support the club incredibly when the team's winning, and it's fun to see, and it's fun to be at a game in Vancouver. I think Jimmy and Patrick have done a great job. Francesco Aquilini from the ownership seat is giving the team all the resources it needs. And frankly, I know how involved the club is in the community. And this is a good young team. I think bringing in Rick Tocchet was a stroke of genius. He's doing a great job. And when you have young players like Hughes and Pedersen and everything else, I think the future's bright. And the team, went through roughly 500, give or take, in the last 10 games, but has been playing much better of late. And is really well poised because the Canucks are in 3rd place with a couple of games in hand. I think the stretch run into the playoffs is going to be great, and I think the fans are going to have something to be excited about. The rest of the franchises in Canada are all beloved. They have fan bases that really are into hockey and supporting the team. Winnipeg had an issue in terms of tickets, and attendance, but that was more a function of the fact that they really sold out too quickly, like in 5 minutes when the team came back, and not enough attention at the time was spent on corporate support in terms of season tickets and the like. But they're rejiggering what they need to do, and there's no issue with the Jets. And I think all of our clubs are doing well. Ottawa is much improving under Michael Andlauer since he took over after Eugene Melnick died. Montreal's rebuilding, but there's never an issue there. Toronto's doing great, and the 2 teams in Alberta, are strong and solid. And Calgary's going to get a new building, so it all looks good for the Canadian 7 teams.
Talking with Gary Bettman, Commissioner of the National Hockey League. Gary, I'm asking you this question in the wake of a real edgy Canuck overtime loss in Minnesota. And we have something called the Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox, and it's full of, hey, you got to ask Gary this question. NHL officiating, this might be a question more for Stephen Walcom, but do you have to be aware of officials who might favor one team or hold a grudge against another?
You would have to be aware if that was the case, but we believe our officials are the best officials, not just in hockey in the world, but of any sport. They have the most difficult job. And none of us at the league office, none of the officials, we're not in the grudge business. We just want decisions to be made the right way, in accordance with the rules, for the right reasons. And we love all of our children equally, and differently, but equally. And all of our officials are the same way.
And Gary, when it comes to television and streaming, my partner Rick here, he can't figure how to subscribe to Amazon. He thinks it involves wires, things like that. Streaming, what's the future, and has it been a good thing so far for the league?
Well, 2 things. One, Amazon Prime is one of the all-time great deals. You people everywhere buying lots and lots of stuff on Amazon. You subscribe to Prime, you get free delivery, and you get Prime Video. They're doing a great job on Monday nights, and it's not that hard to figure out how to stream. And what's happening is the way that media is being consumed is changing. There's cord cutting. Less people are subscribing to cable and satellite. People are stopping some cable and satellite subscriptions. And streaming is where particularly younger fans, younger media consumers are moving. And so you have to adjust with the times. Our goal is to be as widely accessible as possible. And that means some combination of traditional linear and streaming. And the combination of two, we want fans to be able to get what they want, when they want it, how they want it. And we want to provide more content because Amazon, for example, did a great job, Prime, in carrying Face Off. And Quinn Hughes was featured in one of the episodes as well. I mean, this is all part of giving our fans more ways to connect with the game, and we think that's important.
I thought maybe you'd give Rick instructions on how to subscribe.
It's pretty easy. Just go to Amazon.com. I bet you can figure it out.
Okay.
I'm an old-fashioned guy, Gary. Old-fashioned.
I'm the old guy, and I'm telling you, you got to be adaptable in this ever-changing technology age.
There you go.
I'm trying.
Hey, Gary, thanks for this. Congrats on 31 years, over 3 decades, and all the best with the Four Nations. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, great to be with you, and thanks for all you do covering the game. We appreciate it. Happy holidays.
Okay, you bet. Thanks, Gary.